Welcome to the Blackout podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today, I'm so happy to have my friend, writer, storyteller, Sarah Poko. Thanks for coming to the Blackout podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
So I remember we had the culture. Oh God, I can't remember the name of the event, but what's culture?
Yeah, diversifying stories or something.
It had culture in the name.
It had culture. It was for like newcomer writers and artists and stuff like that. Yeah,
it was wonderful. The food was good, actually.
Food was really, really good. And the chandeliers, even better.
Yeah, it was a pretty setting. It's always nice to get like artists in one place because like it's always so inspiring. I met you, I was like, oh man, you have to come on the podcast because you're telling me about horror, and that's something I love. So, how did you get into writing?
So I've always loved writing. When I was a kid, like if the class was going on, I would get bored and I would always start like just writing things in the margins of my stories, of my books. Got into a lot of trouble because my parents are like, you kind of need to pass this class. But I'm like, I just want to pass on to the next act of this story that I'm writing that's so intriguing. So it started there just like as a kid. But I didn't really start taking my writing seriously until I would say 2022, 2023. Yeah. So when I moved to Halifax 2015, and as I was doing my master's at King's, I studied journalism. I would also learn script writing on the side. There were like free workshops that were happening that they were like, hey, if you're a student, you're welcome to join us, or sometimes you pay like maybe $20 or something like that. So I did that on the weekends, on the sides, just trying to improve my writing. I was just really intrigued about creating and writing fiction and seeing what that would lead to. And so from the script writing workshop, someone was like, hey, we're actually having a cabaret. Do you want to get involved? And I was like, yeah. So I did a cabaret. I loved it. People were creeped out by this, like, I don't remember how many pages, but it was literally like a 10-minute thing, like a horror ghost story that I wrote. And then somebody saw that and they were like, hey, we actually like that. Is it okay if we commission you for this showcase? And so I did that. I pitched it as a horror story as well. They loved it. And yeah, that was basically how it started. And so it just snowballed from there.
Why horror though?
Why horror? Oh, okay. So honestly, horror was very accidental. Okay. It was very accidental because I see myself as a bit of I love writing romance. I love writing drama. I'm a huge fan of like funny things. But for some reason, horror, people could relate more to the horror stories that I wrote, which I guess kind of makes sense because I feel like horror, it's very much a metaphor for like trauma that people go through. So no matter where you are in the world, like you will relate to the story in one way or another. Maybe you know somebody, maybe you've gone through it, or you've heard someone that has gone through it. So I think that's why people relate to it. And the stories for me, I don't know, they just came to me a little bit easier. As I mentioned, I tried writing romance. There was a story that I wrote once about a sailor and a mermaid, and sailor was like stuck on an island and meets this mermaid and fall in love. And I read it to my sister. She was like, girl. She's like, that ain't it.
Your sister is the best. You know, we all need someone like that in our lives.
Yes, we do.
You know, because I love watching America's Got Talent. And every time I see people, I'm like, you need somebody like that. You need somebody that's telling you like, dude, no, that's shit.
Exactly. No, honestly, I call her my official unofficial manager because she's not afraid to kind of bring me down to earth, especially, you know, I'm a writer. Every creative, every artist, they are up in the clouds a little bit. So she's very much the one that's like, okay, like we need you here in 2025 with the rest of us down here. Yeah. So she very much grounds me. And she was the one that honestly encouraged me to keep going with horror. And she was like, just try that story, see if it works. And a lot of times it did. So yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, no, we all need someone like that. I mean, I understand that, you know, as a kid, your parents have to gas you up. Or, you know, be like, oh, that's... But I also think it's good to have someone that will just tell you... Yeah, I mean, they don't have to be like mean about it, but they just have to tell you like, okay, this, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what is going on here, because and that's why, you know, sometimes sometimes I'm like, if I write something, okay, I like it, sure, whatever, but there are like maybe 2 or 3 people that I'll send to, and I know they might like it, but they'll be like, you know, think about this. And what, to me, if I send something to like 5 people and 4 of them say this line or this character, okay, there's something that I might have like a blind spot there. But then, yeah, I said, you know, when you create stuff, there are some things you love, you want to keep.
Exactly.
You want to keep. But man, shout out to your sister, man. Tell
She's
her.
a real one, for sure.
Yeah, we need that. Okay, so horror. What is horror to you, though?
Horror to me, that's a very good question, actually. I think horror to me, it gives form to like the things that we can't talk about. One of the things that I told my colleague one day, I was like, you know, when you're going through something that's like either too painful or too unmentionable to like put into words, like a scary monster or a ghost or a demon can do the trick, can embody that thing that you don't want to talk about. It gives physical form, it gives manifestation to it. And that is what I use horror for. I use horror to talk about things that not many people feel comfortable talking about. For example, one of my last plays that I did, Chalkdust, this was part of my playwriting debut. It was set in a room where there were these children, they were refugees here to Canada, and they were trying to learn a new language, and they were having a hard time learning the language, and the teacher was really, really strict, pretty racist, and would just like was just this terror upon these poor children. And as the scene went on, like she slowly began to turn into a vulture. She started to turn into a vulture, into a monster that intimidated this little girl really, really badly. And I think it spoke to a lot of people in terms of, one, if you're a refugee, being in a new country, being in that foreign land where like everything is scary, you're trying to do everything right because they're like, this could be taken away from me at any moment. But I also heard from a former colleague of mine that worked on the show. She had a reading disability, and so she resonated with it because she was like, she would feel the frustration of the teachers as she was trying to learn the words or learn how to like read a sentence or something like that. She said she could feel the frustration of the teachers, and it really spoke to her. So I didn't write it with that in mind, but that was just something that she mentioned that she resonated with, that I was like, wow, like this genre, it has the power to reach across like different kind of, how would I say, different kind of experiences. So yeah, I hope that answered the question. Sorry.
No, yeah, it did. It did, for me at least. It did. And that, I guess, it also kind of raised another question though. When you're writing, is it important that you're scared of what you're writing, or like you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna be scary versus, you know, because like, you know, the monster, you know what the thing is behind the thing. But do you ever get scared of what you're writing?
Yes, I do. I honestly do. And like, cause I would just, it's one thing to have it in your head, like, oh yeah, this would be cool. It's another thing when you're writing the dialogue and you're writing the description of the monster, you're like, wait a minute, I don't think maybe this wasn't a good idea, being alone writing this. Because there was once I was preparing for a show in Newfoundland, and I was writing Chicken Feet, which you've read a little bit about. And as I was writing the character, I was cat sitting for my friend. So I was writing in the house, and then as I was writing the ghost, the cat just paused and looked at like an empty spot in the room. I'm like, don't you fucking dare. No, it was the creepiest thing ever. So yeah, I scared myself. After like 30 minutes, I was like, I checked on you. You're alive. I'm going home. I need like people around me right now. So yes, I do scare myself. And while it's not important that I get scared, it definitely tells me that I'm on the right track.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take it out of books into screen now. Like, do you find that horror movies or other, like, I guess, horror media inspires your writing?
Horror movies for sure, especially horror movies from my childhood. So I'm from Nigeria, and before my family started moving around, like a lot of my formative years, in terms of cinema, were inspired by like Nigerian films. So there's this church in Nigeria called Mount Zion. So they had like Mount Zion films where it's like, if you're not a good Christian, the evil demon is gonna come get you. And so like that really like I did not like watching those movies at all. But alas, I remember them. Right. And therefore I'm a writer. I'm like, let me use this to my advantage in some way. So yeah, like movies like that. Also, my dad was really into like golden age Hollywood. So I also took a lot of inspiration from a lot of the stuff that I was watching there. There was this one movie that stuck out to me the most called the Thief of Baghdad. I don't remember which year it was made. But I just remember very vividly the imagery, the costume design, the backdrop. It was so beautiful. And then Clash of the Titans, the old school Clash of the Titans, like that.
With Calibos.
Yes, yes, that was like peak. That was like beautiful cinema, and just like the way they like interpreted the mythology about it, and like I don't know how to explain it. Obviously, the CGI was horrible then.
Yeah, but
it
worked.
Such a good job. Yeah. It worked. It added to the magic and the realism of the place. And yeah, those are just a few of the things that inspired me. So that, also Tales by Moonlight. Growing up, if you're a Nigerian millennial, you know Tales by Moonlight. It's just like a show that came up every evening where they tell you like, they tell you like stories and like folk tales and stuff like that. So I really, really loved like things like that.
And then they would like act the stories.
And they'll act the stories, and oh my gosh. And apparently it's on YouTube. You can find the episodes on YouTube.
Really?
So my sister and I were watching it the other day, and I was just like, girl, there's a lot more. There's a more.
Wow.
So I'm so excited to rewatch them all with her.
Holy smokes. Okay, I didn't know that. Well, I'll be sure to check it out. But yes, I know Tales by Moonlight. Okay, and I talked about books that inspire you. I knew like Rashomon and 17 Other Stories. Why did you pick this one?
So I picked this book because, frankly, of all the stories that inspired me, this was the one that made it here to Halifax. So my family, we moved around a lot. So my parents, they're retired diplomats. I started moving since the age of 2 years old. And we did it in such a way where like you are, for example, like 1 year in headquarters, which is Nigeria, and then 4 years in another country. 2 years in headquarters, another 4 years in another country. So 3 years, it depends on how it goes. So a lot of the books that I got in those foreign countries that I loved, I would bring them back home to Nigeria. And then when we move, like there's only so many things you can take. So I would leave them home and then go to another country, find more books, and so on and so forth. So like of all the books that I took back and forth traveling here and there, that is, I think, one of the oldest ones that I had. And I brought that because I think it encompasses how I feel as a person, just a curious mind. I love finding ghost stories. It has like Japanese ghost stories in there. I love reading about folklore, mythology, which there's a lot of in there as well. And yeah, so that's why I brought the book here with me.
I love Rashomon. Okay. Traveling, like you've traveled and lived in so many countries. What influence do you believe it plays in your life, all that travel and your writing?
In my life and my writing. So in my life, in the sense that, well, how will I explain it? Because I had to move so much, like growing up, I was almost always like the new person in school or the new person in church or the new person in like whatever like community I was in. So on one hand, like sometimes it was kind of lonely because like you're trying to make new friends all the time, but it did also like help with my confidence. Like I don't mind walking up to someone and be like, hey, we're friends now. And it also helped with my adaptability. Like I can adapt to like any situation. Like I can just like absorb whatever is around me and like use that to my advantage. But in terms of my writing, I think it helped because it exposed me to different like cultures that I would not really have had much experience with if I wasn't there in person. It's one thing to read about, for example, we lived in India. It's one thing to read about Indian mythology and watch Bollywood. It's another thing to be in the country, you're walking with the people, you're talking with them, you're seeing the temples, you're observing the festivals that you're doing and like the cultural significance to them. So I think that's one thing that it had to my writing, and that has made me, I feel like, I don't want to say a strange writer. I think it makes me a unique writer because I feel like when people see me and when I tell them I'm Nigerian, they expect a kind of storytelling and a kind of voice to come out of me.
It's the Biafra war.
Exactly. You know,
whatever
like,
the yellow song.
Exactly. Chimamanda Ngozi Wole Soyinka and all that stuff. But it's like, my voice is uniquely me. And like Nigerians are like very diverse, very unique. They're Nigerians all over the world. If you don't see a Nigerian wherever you're at,
there's a problem.
You should get out. You should run.
There's a problem.
We're everywhere. So yeah, I use that to my advantage. I learn everything, and like if it works for me in my writing, I include it. If it doesn't, then I've learned something new. And yeah.
Yeah. What's in the horizon for you?
In the horizon for me, so I have a showcase coming up on Halloween with the auditorium. So that's a co-show between Anomaly Theater and Villains Theater. It's going to be happening at Bus Stop Theater next week, Friday, Halloween. So
what is the showcase? Like, what is your play called?
So the play that I've written for that is called Many Hands Make Light Work. And it's inspired by an urban legend that I heard when I was in boarding school in Nigeria. So the legend goes that there was a woman or a girl in the boarding school that could do people's hair. And one thing about like Nigerian boarding schools is very much a trade by barter system. So if you know someone that can do your hair, like they will do your hair for you, and then maybe you give them like like a box of crackers or some cereal. So like that way you kind of exchange services. And so apparently there was this one girl that could do people's hair super, super fast and so elegantly and so beautifully. But the thing is, if you look in the mirror, you can see multiple hands working in your hair, trying to get that look, girl. So I was just inspired by that, and I was like, what if I could write something about that? So that's what I used as my inspiration, and so I wrote a story. So it's an anthology of 6 horror stories, 6 short horror stories. So I'm one of them, and it's about 10 pages long, so not too long, but hopefully enough to scare the crap out of people. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, and you were mentioning something else apart from your showcase? That's on the horizon for you?
That's on the horizon for me. I am honestly just trying to do more writing in general. There's nothing like... I wouldn't say there's anything like super concrete coming up for me right this moment besides the showcase. But just trying to do more writing, trying to do more filmmaking and I don't know, just trying to expose myself to like more horror out there. So
I didn't ask, what's your process? Do you have a process when it comes to writing?
Ooh, my process. So I love mythology. So I usually, if I'm like looking for inspiration, I go read whatever mythology is out there. And I find something like, I'm trying to think. Okay, for example, there is this one Japanese yokai called Beto Beto-san. And it's basically just these footsteps you can hear behind you when you're alone at night. So it's like, it comes in, you're walking home at night alone, and then you hear footsteps walking behind you. And apparently there's a particular Japanese yokai that represents that. And so one way you can circumnavigate that, because it will follow you if you let it follow you. So one way you can get around that is by stepping aside and saying, hey, Mr. Beto Beto-san, after you. And then it walks by you. So that's one way to get around it. And then another one that I saw was, oh my God, I've forgotten how to say her name. But basically, she's this woman with like a slit mouth. So she has a white mouth and it's like kind of slit
like
here.
Like the Joker?
Yeah, like Joker, but it's a little more terrifying. And so her story is that she would come up to you and she was like, do I look beautiful? And if you say yes, she knows you're lying and she'll kill you. If you say no, she's like, that's rude, and she kills you. So one way to get around her is to say, I'm sorry, ma'am, I have an appointment to get to, and then just walk away. So I usually like stories like that where you can kind of outwit the ghosts or outwit the monsters, or in some cases manipulate them to do your bidding in some way. So I find stories like that. I find stories that kind of intrigue me. Sometimes stories that I may not have heard of before. There's this one folktale, I don't remember the name, but it was originally written in Sanskrit, and it was basically, imagine 1001 Nights, but from a parrot.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's basically, the story goes that there's this king, he goes on a long journey, and the queen, she wants to go sleep with her, like she has like a suitor outside, she wants to go sleep with him, but the parrot is loyal to the king, so she tells the queen stories like every night to kind of, and she's to keep her in the house. So she's so intrigued that by the time she realizes the sun has come up and she can't go home and she can't go to her lover, and by the time the king comes back, he's told her like all these amazing, interesting stories out there. So yeah, there's some like obscure folktales out there. There's so much out there that I probably haven't even scratched the surface of like how much I could read and find. So yeah, I think I just start from what's around in the world already, and I find a way to relate that to what's going on in modern day life. So
okay, and someone is watching or listening to this episode and they're like, oh my God, Sarah is inspiring and stuff. I want to write like her. What advice would you have to share?
Oh,
To someone that wants to get into writing.
Do not censor yourself. One of the things that I grappled with when I started writing, and I think it's probably what deterred me from writing until recently, was when I would write something, a lot of my teachers, especially back in Nigeria, they would read my work and they were like, oh, this is so far-fetched. This is like, what the heck is this? Like, what are you talking about? And I allowed that to play in my head for too long, and that really like stifled my creative juices. So I think my advice is like, when someone tells you stuff like that, don't listen to them. There's a reason why you have that idea. You will never know why you have that idea until you put it down to paper. It's one thing to play with that idea in your head, but you will never know how far it could go until you put it down to paper. So write it. People are gonna say, what the hell? People are gonna say, what are you doing? Don't listen to them. Listen to the ones who are in a space that you want to be. Let them give you feedback, constructive feedback, not just criticism, constructive feedback. Take that as you will. Not all feedback also needs to be taken. Take what you will. If you like it, awesome. If it doesn't work for you, doesn't work for your writing, then you know that you've learned someone else's perspective and you move on with it. So yeah, I think that's the advice I would give.
No, I agree. Like censoring your voice, because how will you even recognize a voice if you keep stifling
Exactly.
it? You know, like you have to let it fly, and then you okay. Then you can be like, okay, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to go. Okay, I usually say guests stay away with this question, and it's something someone asked me, so I'm gonna ask it. What is something that happened to you before 17 that played a huge role in who you are today?
Okay, let me see. Honestly, it was hard to like pick because I was like, there's so much that's happened. Let me see. Before the age of 17. I think it was living and schooling in India, specifically during Hindi classes. So like every week they would have Hindi classes where like students can learn Hindi and like improve their Hindi, but I was excused because they're like, look at this girl. No. So I was excused and I would go to the library, and that is honestly my first encounter with mythology. I would go to the library and I picked a book. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. I just picked a book I've never read before, or I would never read before. And that's just how it started. It started with Greek mythology, and then it went into like Roman, it went into Indian mythology, and I just kept on reading, and that's what helped expand my world. Even from there, like I would go home and like Google stuff on Wikipedia, see what's there. If you get me going on like a mythological page and I open the tabs again and again, you're gonna see like 50 tabs in like 10 minutes. Like I swear, I can't read them all, but I open them anyways, and I lose them and I start again. It's a vicious circle. But yeah, I think that was a pivotal moment. Just like that's at least the first thing that comes to mind. That I think that's what started my journey into like loving folklore and loving like the power of storytelling as well. Because not all mythology is told the same. So I think that's what got me into it. So yeah, that's one thing I'll pull up.
Yo, thanks for coming and for sharing your story and sharing that chicken feet with me. It's magical. I liked it.
Yay!
Also got to learn about that the goddess,
Yes.
the Indian goddess. So I want to let you go with a little bit of magic of my own.
Magic?
Yes. So, you write a number between 1 and 60.
1 and 60?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't show me your number. Once you're done, you can point to the camera.
Okay.
And I'm going to use a little bit of magic from the
God.
spirits. And I'm going to use my magic cards.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to figure out what your number is. Hopefully, it should work.
Okay, David Blaine. All right, I'm ready.
You ready? Did you show them what your thing is? I'm looking away. You got it?
Yep.
Okay, so these cards have numbers, and your number is going to be in at least one of the card.
Okay.
But it might be more than one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is it in the first one here?
Yes.
Okay. Is it here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it here? Okay. Is it here?
Yeah.
I
wish I was joking.
Is it here?
No.
Oh, finally. Okay, is it here?
Yes.
Wow, only one card. Okay, shoot, this is...
Got your work cut out for you.
Yeah. 55.
Yeah. How did you do that? That is insane. What the hell? That is so creepy. Wait, did you see me right now?
No, I looked away. It's magic.
Did you tell him something?
I don't have any mics on. I'm sorry. I don't have any headphones, so I'm not listening to anything.
Wow. All right. He's real, guys. He's real.
Thank you so much for sharing your amazing stories, and thank you so much for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.